Watch this. That right there is a soaker pad. There's one under the meat in every tray in that case, and you have thrown away hundreds of them without ever once looking at one. Go ahead and squeeze it. That is not water. That is beef. The juice, the flavor, the weight. And here's the part that ought to bother you. The pad is free. What is soaked into it, you paid for at beef prices, because when that tray went on the scale, all of that was still inside the meat. And now it's in the garbage. My name's Hank Dunlap, 31 years behind a meat counter, and I'm the fella who put beef into trays exactly like that one. So today, I'm handing you 9 things, 3 at the counter before you spend $1, 4 at the stove, and 2 at the freezer. Ways to buy it, ways to brown it, and 1 way to store it that'll double what fits in your freezer. Here's the whole idea in 1 sentence. Nearly every problem you have got with ground beef was decided before you bought it. In the grind, in the fat, and in that pad. Fix the buying and the cooking gets easy. And I'll warn you now, one of these 9 is going to sound like I'm telling you to put a cleaning product in your dinner. I'll show you it works, and then I'll show you exactly where it goes wrong, because everybody else teaching that trick leaves the second half out. Stick around. The first 3 happen before you ever turn on a burner. Number 1, buy by the cut name, not the percentage. Ground beef, ground chuck, ground round, ground sirloin. Those look like 4 ways of saying the same thing. They are not. And the difference is written into federal regulation. The Department of Agriculture defines ground beef as beef from primal cuts and trimmings, no more than 30% fat, and no water, no phosphates, no binders added. But when a package says only ground beef, that is a blend of trimmings from all over the animal, put together to hit a fat number. Now here's the part almost nobody knows. If that label says ground chuck or ground round or ground sirloin, then by law, the lean and the fat both have to come from that primal only. Ground chuck comes from the shoulder. That's it. Nothing else is allowed in there. So the percentage on the front tells you how much fat. The cut name tells you what kind of fat and where on the animal it came from. Chuck is the shoulder. It's a hard-working muscle. It carries the marbling, and it carries the flavor. Sirloin is lean, and it will disappoint you in a pan every time. One more thing while you're reading that label. Ground beef and hamburger are not the same word legally. Hamburger can have beef fat added back in. Ground beef cannot. Same case, same shelf, different rules. And if reading the label is good, having somebody make it for you is better. That's number 2. Number 2, ask the counter to grind chuck for you. Walk up and say the whole thing out loud. Chuck 80/20, coarse grind. That's it. Most counters will do it. Most won't charge you extra for it. And almost nobody asks. I'll tell you what happens when you do. You'll see something move in that fella's face. 31 years I stood there, and the number of people who asked me to grind them a chuck roast I could probably count. It's the easiest thing in the world for him to do, and it's the most interesting thing that'll happen to him that afternoon. You get a named cut, ground within the hour, instead of sitting in a tray breathing oxygen for 2 days, and fresh grind browns better, which brings us right back to that pad. Number 3, turn the package over and look at the purge. 2 trays, same price per pound, same date. One of them has a puddle under the meat and a pad that's gone dark and heavy. The other one's dry. Take the dry one. That's 15 seconds of your life, and you just bought more beef for the same money. And now I'll tell you why that works, because the rule is genuinely on your side here. The pad itself is what they call tear. It gets subtracted, so nobody's charging you for cardboard. But the federal rule on weighing meat treats free-flowing liquid as part of the product. So all that juice was counted as beef when the tray got priced, and every hour since then, it's been leaving the meat and going into the pad. Normal loss is 1 to 2% of the package weight. Past that is considered excessive. The dry tray is the one that hasn't given it up yet. That liquid is the difference between meat that browns and meat that steams. And I'll show you why in about 2 minutes. Look at the meat itself, too. You want it looking coarse and irregular like it came off a grinder. If it looks smooth and pressed, it's been handled hard. That's the buying. Now the pan. Number 4, the water drop test. This is the one thing every cook agrees on, and they're all right. Heat your skillet dry. Flick 1 drop of water in. If it hits and vanishes with a hiss, the pan's too cold. You put beef in that pan, and it will release its water faster than the pan can boil it off, and you'll steam a pound of gray meat and wonder what you did wrong. What you want is the drop pulling itself into a bead and skittering across the surface like it's alive. That's the pan telling you it's ready. Then the beef goes in, you spread it out flat, and then the hardest part of this whole video, you leave it alone. Don't touch it for 2 full minutes. Let it stick. Let it release. Let it build a crust. Number 5 is the one I warned you about. If there's a package of ground beef in your refrigerator right now, this is the one to go do tonight. Number 5, baking soda. 1/4 teaspoon per pound, dissolved in a tablespoon of water, not more. Here's what's happening, and here's who says so. America's Test Kitchen ran this properly. Baking soda raises the pH on the surface of the meat, and that makes it harder for the proteins to bond up tight as they heat. Proteins that don't clench don't squeeze out their juices. So the meat stays tender, it holds moisture, and because you're not fighting a flood of released water, it browns faster and deeper. Their working number is 1/4 teaspoon for 12 ounces of ground beef, so 1/4 teaspoon per pound is right in that range and gives you a little cushion. Dissolve it in a tablespoon of water first, because dry powder will clump and you'll get a hot spot. Mix it through gently with your hands. Don't work it like meatloaf. Then let it sit 15 minutes. And this is a nice piece of their testing. They compared 15 minutes against 45, and the samples came out identical. The 45-minute batch held about 3% more moisture. 3%. So 15 minutes is the whole job. If dinner gets interrupted and it sits longer, no harm done. Now here's where I part company with everybody else who teaches this trick. Number 6. Go past that dose and it tastes like a chemical. I ran this at home. 3 pans side by side. 1/4 teaspoon per pound, 1/2 teaspoon. And then a deliberately stupid amount because I wanted to find the ceiling and nobody else was going to show it to you. The high-dose pan browned beautifully. Best-looking beef of the 3 by a mile. Deep and dark and even. I plated 2 of them with no labels and handed them across the counter and asked what the difference was. The 1/4 teaspoon plate came back. Tastes like beef. The heavy plate came back with a face I'd rather not describe, and the words chemical and some kind of fake salt. Wouldn't finish it. So, let me say it plainly because this is the part that gets left out. It made a better looking burger. It did not make a better burger. More is not more. 1/4 teaspoon per pound is a technique. Anything past 1/2 teaspoon per pound is a mistake you can taste, and once you taste it, you can't untaste it. That's the honest version. Now, back to the pan because there's a tool in your kitchen drawer you've been using wrong. Number 7. Potato masher, not a spoon. Once that beef has taken its crust and you're ready to break it down, put the spoon away. A spoon pushes. You'll be standing there hacking at it for 30 passes, and you'll still have chunks the size of a walnut sitting next to gravel. A potato masher goes straight down through the whole mass, 3 passes, maybe 4, and you've got even crumble all the way across. Even crumble means even cooking, and it means every piece has surface area to brown. It's the same tool that's been jamming your drawer for 15 years. Number 8. Season after the fat renders, not before. This is the one where being a butcher instead of a cook actually pays off, because the reason is the same reason as everything else in this video. Water. Salt pulls moisture. That's what it does. It's osmosis. It's not up for debate. You salt raw, ground beef, and salt draws water to the surface of the meat. Surface water is the single enemy of browning, because the pan has to boil that water off before the surface can get hot enough to brown at all. So you salt early, you steam the meat, you just paid good money to brown. There's a second thing too. Salt dissolves the proteins in ground beef and makes them bind to each other. That's how you make sausage. It's exactly what you want in a bratwurst and exactly what you don't want in a taco. Salt your burger patties on the outside just before they hit the heat, and salt your crumble after it's browned and the fat has rendered out. And while we're there, about that rendered fat, if the dish will carry it, leave it in. That fat gets reabsorbed, and it's where the flavor and the moisture live. I'm not making you a health argument. I'm not qualified to, and I'm not going to. I'm telling you it tastes better. If you're making something where the grease will ruin it, pour it off into a can, not down your drain. That's the cooking. 2 storage tricks, and then I've got a question for you. Number 9, flat pack and score the bag. Take a quart freezer bag, put 1 pound in, and press it flat until it's an even sheet, pushing the air out as you go. Seal it. You've just doubled what fits in your freezer because flat packages stack and lumps don't. And a flat sheet thaws in a fraction of the time a ball does evenly, without the outside going gray while the middle's still solid. Now, the upgrade. Take 2 pounds in a gallon bag, press it flat the same way, then take a silicone spatula, not metal, and press a line straight down through the middle. Flip it. Press the same line from the other side, then press it into thirds the other direction. Freeze it flat. What you've got now is a scored sheet of beef. Snap off 1/3 of a pound, or 2/3, or the whole thing, and put the rest back. Perfect smash burger portions with no thawing and no sawing at a frozen brick. And if you forgot to thaw it entirely, you can cook that sheet straight from frozen. Melt a little fat in the pan, lay the frozen sheet in, and put a lid on it. 4 minutes. Take the lid off, flip it, and scrape the cooked layer off the top with your spatula. Put it back on the heat, 4 more minutes, scrape again. Keep going until it's all crumble, then run it back through the potato masher. So that's 9. 3 of them happen at the counter before you spend $1, and those 3 are worth more than the other 6 put together. Buy the cut name. Ask him to grind it. Take the dry package. 1/4 teaspoon, not a half. Hot pan, water beads. Masher, not spoon. Salt at the end. And here's what I want from you, because I'm genuinely curious and I read all of these. Give me 2 numbers in the comments. What ground chuck costs per pound at your store this week, and what a whole chuck roast costs in the same case. Same store, same day, both numbers. Because a lot of weeks, in a lot of stores, the roast is cheaper than the grind. And if that's true where you live, then hack number 2 isn't just about a fresher grind. It's about paying less for better beef and having the man behind the counter do the work for you. I read every one of them. Tell me what you find.